Something about my wife's story doesn't add up, and I don't know what to believe. 37M, 34F. I'm in a long-distance marriage right now. My wife 34F works about 4 hours away from me. Recently, she went out with some friends. After that night, I noticed she has been in contact with a guy they apparently met while out. I confronted her, and she says it wasn't really him, that her female friend was the one calling her using his phone. But here's what's bothering me. The next night, the guy's number called my wife for about an hour. Then my wife called back and spoke for another hour. This happened around 11 p.m. and possibly past midnight. She claims the calls happened while the guy and her female friend were at a club. She denies it was the guy calling. Anyone who has been to a club knows how loud it is. I don't understand how people could have clear, 2-hour phone conversations inside a club. It just doesn't make sense to me. I believe she was actually talking to the guy. To make it worse, this all happened on Valentine's Day night. I want to trust my wife, but the story doesn't add up in my head. I feel torn between believing her and listening to my instincts. Am I overthinking this, or does this seem suspicious to you? Your wife must think you are really stupid. Your wife is cheating on you. You know that because you aren't stupid, but she clearly thinks you are. I think you know the answer, dude. Sorry. My 29M girlfriend, 28F, of 1 year wants to go on a work trip abroad despite not having a full-time job and not being able to help with any bills. For context, she moved in with me 6 months ago due to her old apartment being demolished. My roommate at the time had just moved out, so I offered to let her live with me. When she first moved in, she said she'd be able to help with rent and shared bills, but hasn't done so once because she has $1, $600 of monthly debts she has to pay, CC debt, car loan, pet insurance. She's been looking for work this whole time with no luck. She works a part-time job about 10-15 hours a week, which barely covers her debt payments, if that. I have a full-time job and am able to pay rent and all my expenses, but barely break, even each month, sometimes going into the red. She knows this, and that her helping out would make a big difference, but she does not have any money to spare. Now, despite her financial situation, she is planning to go on a week-long trip to France for an industry event where she plans to network and find a full-time job. While I'm happy that she has the opportunity to go, it's a very exclusive event and arguably the best in our industry. I can't help but feel jaded that she is going to spend $1,000 plus on this trip while I've been stuck paying all of our bills with no help. Anytime I bring up our financial situation, she acknowledges that it's not sustainable and that she's searching diligently for work, which is why I'm surprised and hurt that she's planning a trip like this. Looking for some advice on how to broach the subject. I don't want to give her an ultimatum about going on the trip because I am genuinely happy she has the opportunity to go. But I do need to get across how unfair this feels to me and that our financial arrangement isn't sustainable. How do I bring this up in a respectful way? She's either lying to you or she's being lied to. If she can spend $1,000 on a trip to France, whether for networking or not, she has money to pay her bills to you. This would feel incredibly disrespectful to me and not like a partnership. It's not a work trip if work isn't paying for it. My 26F boyfriend, 27M, of 6.5 years told me to stop talking about engagement because it makes him feel like a shitty boyfriend for not proposing. Is this okay? Hi. My boyfriend and I have been together for 6.5 years. For years into the relationship, he was still saying he wasn't sure on marriage. We looked at rings on our 6-year anniversary. Other than that, very little talks of marriage. Last night, we had an argument over a money situation back in late 2023/early 2024, where I worked part-time and couldn't pay as much of rent/groceries/etc. that I was paying before. He reminded me that I needed to pay him back the $5,000. He then stated, if we get married, I'll consider it paid. I called him out for saying, if we get married. Despite looking at rings, the amount of time we've been together, and talking a little more about it marriage. He then proceeded to yell at me that I am making him feel like a shitty boyfriend for not proposing yet, and that I need to stop mentioning proposals/engagement/marriage. I feel like if we've been together this long, then we should be openly talking about it more. We've had half-assed conversations here and there. I really don't even know what to do at this point. I feel like we've hit a wall, and I'm not allowed to talk about us getting engaged without making him feel bad. Couple edits and more backstory. I told him I wanted to be engaged by our 5-year anniversary. I then pushed it to our 6-year, since the 5-year didn't happen. I then pushed it to our 7-year. I don't want to keep pushing when I want to be engaged. I feel like I shouldn't have to beg him to propose. I am not a perfect person. As seen on a previous post, I broke his trust before about smoking weed. It's not something I'm proud of, but have been doing everything to help myself. I go to therapy and actively manage my cravings. It just feels like we've hit a wall at this point. If you want to get married, you know what you have to do. He has no intention of marrying you, and he will not come out and say it. Pull your head out of your ass. Don't wait any longer. You'd get a shut-up ring. My M28, girlfriend of 4 years, now my fiancée, F23, threatened our engagement because of a family vacation. So I had trouble pinpointing a title for this one. But a little context is that this is a political issue between myself and her parents. Her parents are very conservative and support Trump, ICE, etc. Her and I are very liberal and oppose what is currently happening in the U.S. Her mom consistently sends her Instagram reels on why ICE is a good thing, why Trump is saving the U.S. from demonic forces, and most recently why Trump's post depicting the Obamas as apes was not racist. Something that I haven't mentioned yet is that my mother is an immigrant. Both myself and her have tried to explain to them that their stances are offensive to me, and they just double down and move on. This specific issue arose because they recently invited me on a family vacation. I told my fiancé that I don't feel comfortable going because it's hard to get through my head that they don't actually hate me or my mother's family. I know that sounds a little extreme, and I'm still not quite sure how to actually word how I'm feeling about it. She replied and said that she can't go on having this divide between me and her family, and that her family is part of her no matter what. She even went on to say that she can't envision us getting married later this year if I don't go on this vacation with them. I asked her to try and see it through my perspective, and she said that she does. However, even if it is selfish of her, she needs this from me. So I guess my question is, what sort of compromise seems reasonable? I want to do everything in my power to marry her, but this is something that I can only describe as hurting my soul. Is there something I can do to be less selfish? I feel like I'm still in shock from this situation, and I don't really know what to think. I'm also happy to provide for context in the comments if there are any questions about specifics. Call it quits. Do it, bro. That'll save you more money versus switching to Geico. This is not an area where you compromise. Unfortunately, it's time to move on. I suspect you've known that for some time now. There is no fix for this situation. Listen, you have the answer in your guts. You'll be miserable in that marriage. Go ahead with it if you want.